I think I didn't do anything wrong, just told the truth for once, maybe a little late. When I told my husband I said yes to my ex's proposal, he didn't scream or fight. He just left the room, and the next day, I got served with divorce papers. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The kitchen felt smaller than usual that Tuesday evening. Marcus was loading the dishwasher with his usual methodical precision while I sat at our granite island, my phone face down beside my untouched coffee. Ruby was upstairs doing homework, her music drifting down through the ceiling. It was the perfect domestic scene, except for the bomb I was about to drop. Marcus, we need to talk. He didn't look up from arranging plates in the rack. About what? My heart hammered against my ribs. After 3 months of sneaking around, of stolen lunches and secret texts, I was finally going to come clean. Well, partially clean. About Ethan. That got his attention. Marcus straightened, his brown eyes finding mine across the kitchen. Your college boyfriend. What about him? I twisted my wedding ring, a nervous habit I'd developed lately. He reached out a few months ago, after his divorce was finalized. The words felt thick in my throat. We've been talking. Marcus's voice was flat, unreadable. He asked me to marry him. I rushed the words out before I could lose my nerve, and I said yes. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Marcus stood frozen, a ceramic bowl in his hands, staring at me as if I'd spoken in a foreign language. I'd expected shouting, accusations, maybe even tears. Instead, he carefully placed the bowl in the dishwasher and closed it with a soft click. You said yes, he repeated. Marcus, you have to understand. We've been growing apart for years. You're always working, always buried in your computer. When was the last time we really talked? When was the last time you asked me how I was feeling? He leaned against the counter, his face pale. So you decided to marry someone else? I decided to choose happiness for once. The words came out sharper than I intended, but they were true. Ethan listens to me. He makes me feel alive again. You've been treating me like a roommate for so long, I forgot what it felt like to be wanted. Mommy? Ruby's voice floated down from the stairs. Are you okay? You sound upset. I forced brightness into my voice. Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just grown-up talk. But Marcus was already moving toward the stairs. I'll tuck her in, he said without looking at me. I sat alone in the kitchen, my confession hanging in the air like smoke. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Marcus was supposed to fight for me, to realize what he was losing and beg me to stay. Instead, he'd just left. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. How did it go? Are you free now? I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Upstairs, I could hear Marcus's gentle voice reading Ruby her bedtime story, the same way he had every night for 9 years. The same routine, the same predictable life that had been suffocating me. Still working on it, I typed back. But yes, I'm free. The house felt different when Marcus came back downstairs. He moved through our shared spaces like a ghost, gathering his laptop and phone charger from the living room. Where are you going? I asked. To set up in the guest room. His voice was eerily calm. I assume you'll want me to move out soon. Marcus, we can work through this. We can figure out custody, the house. Custody? He stopped in the doorway, finally looking at me again. You're planning to take Ruby? She's my daughter too. Something flickered in his eyes, the first real emotion I'd seen since my confession. Right, of course. He paused, his knuckles white around his laptop bag. I'll need some time to process this, Ophelia, to figure out what comes next. That night, I lay alone in our king-size bed, staring at the ceiling. Down the hall, I could hear Marcus moving around in the guest room, the creak of floorboards as he paced. Part of me wanted to go to him, to try to explain how lonely I'd been, how Ethan's attention had felt like sunlight after years of living in shadows. But a larger part of me felt relief. The secret was out. The pretense was over. Soon, I'd be free to start over with someone who actually appreciated me. I drifted off to sleep thinking about Ethan's smile, the way he'd looked at me across the table at Hazel and Pine Cafe just yesterday. "I can't wait to make you happy, Ophi," he'd whispered, using the nickname that made me feel young again. Really, truly happy. I woke up to an empty house and a note on the kitchen counter. "Took Ruby to school. We'll be staying at Mom's for a few days. We'll talk soon. M." The insurance office buzzed with its usual morning energy, but I felt disconnected from it all. My co-workers chatted about weekend plans and reality TV while I stared at my computer screen, unable to focus on the claim files piling up in my inbox. "You look terrible," said Janet from the cubicle next to mine. "Everything okay at home?" I glanced around to make sure no one else was listening. "Marcus and I are having some problems." "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. What kind of problems?" The concern in her voice made something inside me crack open. "He's been so distant lately. Cold, you know, like he doesn't even see me anymore. I've been feeling so alone." It wasn't exactly a lie. Marcus had been distant, just not in the way I was implying. "Men can be so clueless," Janet said, shaking her head. "They think as long as they're bringing home a paycheck, they're doing their part. But what about emotional support? What about making their wives feel loved?" "Exactly." I felt a rush of validation. "I've tried talking to him, but he just shuts down. It's like living with a stranger." By lunch, I'd shared my struggles with 3 more co-workers, each conversation making me feel more justified in my choices. I wasn't the villain here. I was a neglected wife who'd been pushed to her breaking point. At Hazel and Pine, Ethan was waiting at our usual corner table, his face lighting up when he saw me. He stood to pull out my chair, a gesture Marcus hadn't made in years. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his hand covering mine across the table. "It's been hard," I admitted. "Marcus is staying at his mother's. He barely said anything when I told him about us." "That's probably for the best. Clean break, no drama." Ethan's thumb traced circles on my palm. "My lawyer says the divorce should be straightforward since we're both starting fresh." "About Ruby. She'll adjust," he said quickly. "Kids are resilient, and Tamara's excited about having a little sister." I'd met Ethan's 14-year-old daughter once briefly. She'd been polite but distant, spending most of the dinner staring at her phone. I wouldn't exactly call her excited about anything involving me. "I just want to make sure we do this right," I said, "for everyone involved." Ethan lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to my knuckles. "We will. We're going to be so happy together, Ophi. You, me, the girls. A real family." The afternoon flew by in a haze of insurance forms and daydreams about my new life. I was just packing up my desk when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. Me and Ethan at the cafe, his lips on my hand, both of us looking intimate and secretive. The timestamp showed today's date, just 2 hours ago. The message below made my blood run cold. "Thought you said it was over." I knew that writing style, that careful punctuation. "Marcus." My hands shook as I typed back, "We need to talk." The response came immediately. "No, we don't." I tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. When I got home, the house felt hollow and accusing. Ruby's backpack was gone from the hall closet. Marcus must have picked up more of her things while I was at work. My mother called while I was heating up a frozen dinner, her voice warm with concern. "Ophelia, honey, I just talked to Helen. She says there's trouble between you and Marcus." Helen. Of course, Marcus's mother had already started spreading her version of events. "It's complicated, Mum. Marcus and I have been having problems for a while now." "What kind of problems?" Helen made it sound like, well, she was very upset. I could imagine. Helen Dray had never thought I was good enough for her precious son. This would be validation of every doubt she'd ever harbored about me. "Marcus has been emotionally distant for years," I explained, settling into my well-practiced narrative. "I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. I've been so lonely, Mum." "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I had no idea things were that bad." I didn't want to worry you, but I've been reconnecting with an old friend, someone who actually listens to me, who makes me feel valued. Well, that's natural. When you're not getting what you need at home, she paused. Is this friend someone special? His name is Ethan. We dated in college. He's recently divorced, and he's been such a support during this difficult time. It was amazing how easy it was to reshape the truth, to make my choices sound inevitable rather than selfish. Maybe this is exactly what you need, Mom said. A fresh start with someone who appreciates you. Life's too short to be unhappy, honey. After we hung up, I felt better. Mom understood. My co-workers understood. Even if Marcus couldn't see how his neglect had pushed me into Ethan's arms, other people could. I was scrolling through my phone, looking for more photos Marcus might have taken, when a new message appeared from him. Liam will pick up the rest of Ruby's things tomorrow. Don't be there. The dismissive tone stung. After 12 years together, this was how he was going to handle things. Cold, efficient, like I was just another problem to be solved. I typed back, "You can't just cut me out of Ruby's life. I'm her mother. No one's cutting you out. But right now, she needs stability." Stability? You mean she needs to hear your side of the story first? The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times before his final message. There are no sides, Ophelia. There's just what happened. I threw my phone across the room, watching it skitter across the hardwood floor. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Marcus was supposed to be hurt, angry, fighting for our marriage. Instead, he was treating me like a business transaction, cold and methodical. But I could be methodical too. If Marcus wanted to play games, if he wanted to turn my own daughter against me, then I'd show him what I was capable of. I'd been the dutiful wife for 12 years, putting his needs first, sacrificing my happiness for the sake of our family. Not anymore. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Ethan's contact. "Can I come over?" "I need to see you." His response was immediate. "Always. I'll be waiting." Helen Dray's house sat on a tree-lined street that had always intimidated me, with its perfect landscaping and judgmental windows. I'd been driving around the neighborhood for 20 minutes, working up the courage to knock on her door. Finally, I parked at the curb and walked up the brick pathway, my heels clicking against the stones. The woman who answered my knock wasn't the Helen I knew from family dinners and holiday gatherings. This version was steel-eyed and rigid, her grey hair pulled back in a severe bun that made her look like a disapproving headmistress. "Ophelia." Her voice could have frozen water. "I wondered when you'd show up." "Helen, I know this is awkward, but I was hoping we could talk. There's been a lot of misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" She stepped onto the porch, pulling the door closed behind her. "Is that what you're calling it?" Through the front window, I caught a glimpse of Ruby at the kitchen table, her dark head bent over homework. My chest tightened with longing and guilt. "I know how this must look," I said carefully, "but Marcus and I have been having problems for a long time. I never meant for things to get so complicated." "Complicated?" Helen repeated the word like it tasted bitter. "You cheated on my son, Ophelia. You're planning to abandon your family for some man you barely know. There's nothing complicated about that." "That's not—" "I didn't abandon anyone. Marcus is the one who left." "After you told him you were engaged to another man." Helen's composure cracked slightly, her voice rising. "What did you expect him to do? Congratulate you?" "I expected him to fight for me," I snapped, then immediately regretted the honesty. "Look, I know you've never liked me." "This isn't about liking you. This is about Ruby." Helen's eyes blazed. "That little girl is confused and heartbroken, and you're too selfish to see it." "I want to see her. I want to explain—" "Explain what? That Mommy found someone better? That Daddy wasn't good enough anymore?" Helen shook her head. "You've done enough explaining." The front door opened, and Liam appeared, his usually cheerful face grave. Marcus's younger brother had always been the peacemaker in the family, but even he looked at me with disappointment. "Ophelia," he said quietly, "I don't think this is a good time." "When will be a good time, Liam? When is someone going to let me tell my side of the story?" He glanced at his mother, then back at me. Maybe we could grab coffee tomorrow, just the two of us. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was something. I nodded, gave Helen one last pleading look, and walked back to my car with as much dignity as I could muster. The school parking lot was my next stop. Ruby's dismissal was still an hour away, but I needed to see her, needed to reassure myself that my daughter still loved me, despite whatever poison Marcus might be feeding her. I was scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself, when someone tapped on my passenger window. Ethan slid into the seat beside me, his cologne filling the small space. "What are you doing here?" I asked, glancing around nervously. "Someone might see us." "You sounded upset on the phone. I was worried." He reached over to squeeze my hand. "How did it go with Marcus's mother?" "About as well as you'd expect. She basically called me a selfish homewrecker and slammed the door in my face. She'll come around once she sees how happy we are together." Ethan's confidence was one of the things I loved about him. These people just need time to adjust to the new reality. "The new reality," I repeated. "Is that what we're calling it?" "Our reality, our future." He lifted my hand to his lips again, that gesture that never failed to make my heart flutter. "I've been thinking about the wedding, something small and intimate, maybe in the spring. We could do it at that little chapel outside town." "Ethan, slow down. I'm not even divorced yet. But you will be soon. Marcus can't contest it, not when you're clearly unhappy. And once the paperwork is final, we can start planning our real life together." A school bus rumbled past us, and I realized how this must look. Me in a car with another man, holding hands in the parking lot where I'd picked up my daughter hundreds of times. If any of the other parents saw us. "Maybe you should go," I said. "I don't want Ruby to see us together. Not yet." "When will she be ready? When will any of them be ready?" Ethan's voice carried a hint of impatience. "We can't keep hiding forever, Ophi. At some point, you have to choose between your old life and your new one." After he left, I sat alone in the car, watching other mothers arrive for pickup. Some of them waved when they saw me, but their smiles seemed forced, curious. Word was spreading, the way it always did in small communities. Soon everyone would know that Ophelia Dre had destroyed her marriage for her college boyfriend. Ruby emerged from the school building with a group of friends, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. When she saw my car, she hesitated, glancing around as if looking for someone else. "Hi, baby," I said when she climbed into the back seat instead of her usual spot in front. "How was school?" "Okay." She buckled her seatbelt without meeting my eyes. "Are we going to Grandma Helen's?" "Actually, I thought we could go home. Maybe order pizza and watch a movie, just the two of us." "I'm supposed to go to Grandma's," Dad said. The word dad instead of daddy felt like a small knife between my ribs. "Well, I'm your mom, and I say we're going home." Ruby was quiet for most of the drive, staring out the window at the familiar streets. Finally, as we pulled into our driveway, she spoke. "Are you and Daddy getting divorced?" I turned in my seat to face her, my heart breaking at the worry in her dark eyes, Marcus's eyes. "Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups realize they're not happy together anymore. That doesn't mean we don't love you. Is it because of the man you were with in the car?" My blood turned to ice. "What man?" "The one who was holding your hand. Sarah's mom saw you and told her mom, and Sarah told me at lunch." Ruby's voice was small and accusatory. "She said you have a boyfriend." I closed my eyes, cursing small-town gossip and my own stupidity. "Ruby, it's complicated. Are you going to marry him?" The question hung between us like a blade. I could lie, could buy myself time to figure out how to explain this properly. But I was tired of lying, tired of sneaking around. "Maybe," I said softly. "Would that be okay with you?" Ruby unbuckled her seatbelt and bolted from the car, running toward the house. I found her in her room, face down on her bed, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "Baby, please talk to me." "I want Daddy," she whispered into her pillow. "I want to go to Grandma's." I sat on the edge of her bed, reaching out to stroke her hair. She flinched away from my touch. "Ruby, I know this is scary and confusing, but sometimes people grow apart, and they have to make hard choices. You chose him over us. She rolled over to face me, her cheeks streaked with tears. You chose a stranger over me and Daddy. That's not true. I would never choose anyone over you. Then why are you leaving us? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound selfish and hollow. How could I explain to a 9-year-old that I'd felt invisible in my own marriage, that Ethan made me feel beautiful and desired in ways her father hadn't for years? My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Ruby didn't come to Mom's. Everything okay? I typed back. She's with me. We're talking. She was supposed to be here an hour ago. I'm coming to get her. She's my daughter too, Marcus. I have a right to spend time with her, not when you're confusing her with your drama. 20 minutes later, Marcus's car pulled into the driveway. I watched from Ruby's window as he walked to the front door, his shoulders set with determination. He looked older somehow, worn down by stress and betrayal. Ruby flew down the stairs at the sound of his key in the lock, throwing herself into his arms with desperate relief. Daddy, I want to go home with you. I know, sweetheart. We're going to Grandma's, okay? Over Ruby's head, Marcus's eyes found mine. They were cold and distant, like looking at a stranger. We need to establish some ground rules, he said quietly. About visitation. About what's appropriate. Appropriate? I felt my temper flare. I'm her mother. I don't need your permission to see my own daughter. You do when you're introducing her to your boyfriend in school parking lots. So he knew about that too. Of course he did. That wasn't planned. Ethan was just... I don't want to hear his name in front of Ruby. Marcus's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Whatever you need to work out with him, you do it on your own time. He helped Ruby gather some clothes and toys, his movements efficient and purposeful. At the door, she turned back to look at me, her face a mask of confusion and hurt. Bye, Mummy. Bye, baby, I love you. But she was already following Marcus to the car, her small hand tucked safely in his. I stood in the doorway until their taillights disappeared, then walked back into the house that suddenly felt like a mausoleum. Every room held memories of the life I was dismantling, the family I was choosing to leave behind. My phone rang, Ethan calling to check on me. But for the first time since this whole thing started, I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to hear about wedding plans or new realities, or how happy we were going to be together. I wanted my daughter back. I wanted to undo the last few hours, to find a way to make Ruby understand that I wasn't abandoning her. But it was too late for that. The damage was done, and everyone could see it except me. The legal documents arrived on a Thursday morning, delivered by a courier who looked apologetic as he handed me the thick manila envelope. I signed for it with shaking hands, already knowing what was inside, but hoping I was wrong. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words swam before my eyes as I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold beside me. Marcus wasn't just asking for a divorce. He was asking for primary custody of Ruby, citing adultery and emotional instability as grounds. My phone rang before I could finish reading. Ethan's voice was warm and concerned. How are you holding up, beautiful? Marcus filed for divorce, I said numbly. He's trying to take Ruby away from me. He can't do that. You're her mother. He has evidence, Ethan. Photos, text messages. I don't know how much he knows, but it's enough. I flipped through the pages, my heart sinking with each new revelation. Bank statements showing cash withdrawals during my lunch dates with Ethan. Ruby's school attendance records, highlighting the days I'd picked her up early for appointments that were really cafe meetings. Even a transcript of a voicemail I'd left for Ethan, talking about how excited I was to start our new life together. We knew this might happen, Ethan said pragmatically. My lawyer says these things usually work themselves out. Judges don't like to separate kids from their mothers unless there's abuse involved. What if they think emotional manipulation counts as abuse? Do you think you emotionally manipulated Ruby? The question caught me off guard. Of course not. I love her more than anything. Then you have nothing to worry about. Get yourself a good lawyer and fight back. Show them that you're a loving mother who deserves to be happy. After we hung up, I stared at the papers spread across my table. Marcus had been thorough, methodical, as always. Every secret meeting, every lie I'd told, Every moment I'd chosen Ethan over my family was documented in black and white. The doorbell rang, and I shoved the papers into a drawer before answering. Liam stood on my porch, his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "Can I come in?" I led him to the living room, grateful for any friendly face. Liam had always been the easygoing one, the brother who cracked jokes at family dinners and remembered everyone's birthdays. "I brought back Ruby's art supplies," he said, setting a box on the coffee table. "She forgot them yesterday." "How is she?" "Confused, sad. She keeps asking when you're coming home." He sat heavily on the couch, looking older than his 28 years. "Ophelia, what the hell happened? A month ago, you seemed fine, happy even." I perched on the edge of the armchair, choosing my words carefully. "Marcus and I have been having problems for years, Liam. We just got good at hiding it." "What kind of problems?" He stopped seeing me, really seeing me. I felt like a ghost in my own house, cooking, cleaning, taking care of Ruby, but never really connecting with him. When Ethan reached out, it reminded me what it felt like to be valued, to be desired. Liam was quiet for a long moment. "So you had an affair?" "It wasn't supposed to happen. I just needed someone to talk to, someone who understood me." "And you fell in love with him?" "Yes." The admission felt like a relief. I fell in love with him. And he loves me back, Liam. He wants to marry me, to build a life together. When was the last time Marcus talked about our future? When was the last time he looked at me like I was the most important person in his world? Maybe he was too busy working to support his family to remember to look at you the right way. Liam's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Maybe he thought providing for you and Ruby was how he showed love. Providing isn't the same as loving. And cheating isn't the same as communicating. He stood up, pacing to the window. "Did you ever tell Marcus how you were feeling? Did you ever ask for marriage counseling, or suggest date nights, or do anything besides find another man to make you feel better?" The question stung because I knew the answer. I'd dropped hints, made passive-aggressive comments about other couples who seemed happier, but I'd never sat Marcus down and said, "Our marriage is in trouble, and we need to fix it." "It's more complicated than that," I said weakly. "Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty simple. You got bored, you found excitement somewhere else, and now you're trying to make Marcus the villain so you don't have to feel guilty about blowing up your family. That's not fair. What's not fair is Ruby crying herself to sleep every night because her mother chose a stranger over her father." Liam turned from the window, his face hard. "What's not fair is Marcus having to hire a lawyer to protect his relationship with his own daughter. I never said he couldn't see Ruby. You told a 9-year-old that you were going to marry another man. You brought your boyfriend to her school. You made her choose sides, Ophelia." The words hit like physical blows. I was trying to be honest with her. "You were trying to make yourself feel better about your choices." Liam grabbed his jacket from the couch. "I came here hoping you'd have some explanation that made sense, some reason that justified all this pain you've caused. But there isn't one, is there? There's just you choosing yourself over everyone else." After he left, I sat in the silent house, his words echoing in my head. Outside, neighbors were going about their normal lives, walking dogs, checking mail, living in families that weren't falling apart because of selfish choices. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Ruby has a dance recital Friday night. Do you want to come?" My heart leaped. Maybe this was an olive branch, a sign that he was ready to work together for Ruby's sake. "Yes, of course." "What time?" 7 p.m. at the school. We should probably sit separately." The last line deflated my hope, but at least I'd get to see Ruby perform. I'd been helping her practice her routine for weeks before everything fell apart. "I'll be there. Just you, not him." I stared at the message, anger flaring in my chest. His name is Ethan, and he's going to be part of Ruby's life whether you like it or not. The response came quickly. "Not if I have anything to say about it. You can't control who I date, Marcus. I can control who my daughter is exposed to. Check your email." With trembling fingers, I opened my laptop and found a new message from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line made my stomach drop. Evidence compilation, Dre versus Dre. The email contained audio files, video clips, and dozens of photographs I didn't know existed. Marcus had been documenting everything. My late arrivals home from work meetings, phone calls where I'd stepped outside for privacy, even a recording of me and Ethan in the school parking lot, discussing our plans for after the divorce was finalized. In one particularly damaging clip, I could hear myself telling Ethan, "Once Marcus is out of the picture, we can start fresh. Ruby will adjust, kids always do, and we'll be so much happier without all his negativity dragging us down." I didn't remember saying those words, but there they were in my own voice, making me sound callous and calculating. The final item in the email was a formal custody evaluation request signed by a family court judge. A social worker would be interviewing me, Marcus and Ruby to determine what living arrangement would be in her best interests. I called Ethan, my hands shaking as I dialed. "They have everything," I said when he answered. "Recordings, photos, bank statements. Marcus has been building a case against me for weeks. Then we build one back. We show them that you're a loving mother who deserves happiness. We prove that Marcus is a cold, controlling husband who drove you into another man's arms." What if that's not enough? What if they decide I'm an unfit mother? That won't happen. Trust me, Ophi. I've been through this with my ex-wife. These things always work out in the end. But as I hung up the phone and looked around my empty house, I wasn't sure I trusted anyone anymore, including myself. The family court building felt cold and impersonal, all concrete and glass, reflecting nothing back. I sat in the parking lot until the last possible minute before walking in to face Marcus and his lawyer, a calm, polished woman who looked completely in control. Inside, the mediator, Dr. Henley, listened patiently as I tried to defend myself. I talked about love, motherhood, and wanting Ruby to see what happiness looked like. But when Marcus's lawyer presented the evidence, photos, receipts, recordings, it was clear how badly I'd misjudged everything. The recording of my voice saying, "Ruby will adjust, kids always do," sealed my fate. I watched Dr. Henley's expression harden as she scribbled notes. When Ruby was brought in to speak privately, she wouldn't look at me afterward. She just went straight to Marcus and buried her face in his shoulder. "Mr. Dre will have primary custody," Dr. Henley announced. "Mrs. Dre will receive supervised visitation until she demonstrates stability." I tried to argue, but my words only made it worse. "This reaction," the mediator said coldly, "is exactly why we're concerned." In the hallway, I saw Marcus drive away with Ruby, both moving with quiet efficiency, like they'd already adjusted to life without me. My lawyer handed me the temporary custody order. Supervised visits twice a week, counseling required. 6 months, minimum. Outside, my phone buzzed. "Ethan." "How did it go?" I typed back, "I lost her." "Temporarily," I added, but deep down, I knew better. I hadn't just lost Ruby. I'd lost the right to call myself the kind of mother she deserved. 6 months later, I sat in the same courthouse, but everything was different. The confident woman I'd once been was gone, replaced by someone hollow, quiet, and painfully aware of what her choices had cost. Judge Morrison's ruling was brief. Marcus would have full custody. My visits with Ruby would stay supervised, indefinitely. I nodded, numb, as the gavel fell. In the hallway, Marcus told me Ruby was doing better. "She asks about you," he said softly. "I tell her you love her." His kindness hurt more than anger ever could. Ethan and I hadn't lasted. The man I'd risked everything for vanished the moment things got hard. Marcus, meanwhile, had built a calm, stable life for Ruby, the kind I'd destroyed chasing excitement. Driving past our old house, I saw them through the kitchen window. Marcus cooking, Ruby setting the table. They looked whole again. Without me. Back in my tiny apartment, surrounded by mismatched furniture and supervised visit schedules, I finally understood. I hadn't lost them by accident. I'd thrown them away. Some mistakes can't be undone, Some love can't be re-earned, and some consequences last forever. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.